we've got one order of business that we have to take care of. And then that's swearing in two new board members. So, they want to proceed?
And we do, just to kind of give you a little information on how that works, the board members are selected. There's a slate of officers that are actually picked, several officers or several options for board members. There's 2 or 3 board members go on that list. They go to the state looks at them, they actually go to the county judge, and the county judge picks from those 2 or 3 people and actually selects the one that they think would be the best person for the position, and the county judge actually appoints that person to be on the board. So it's not like the board just picks people at random or whatever. The county judge actually has an input on that too. So the 2 new board members that we had that tonight's their first meeting are Chris Peck and Donna Howe. And Myra Chenault is going to give them their oath of office tonight, so you all get to see that. As far as that, and if you all want to come up and let Myra administer your oath. They were appointed at the fiscal court meeting in December, and it went into the official minutes in the January meeting of the fiscal court meeting.
I do solemnly swear. I do solemnly swear, or affirm as the case may be. Or affirm as the case may be. That I will support the Constitution of the United States. That I will support the Constitution of the United States. And the Constitution of this Commonwealth. And the Constitution of this Commonwealth. And be faithful and true to the Commonwealth of Kentucky. And be faithful and true to the Commonwealth of Kentucky. So long as I continue a citizen thereof. So long as I continue a citizen thereof. And that I will faithfully execute. And that I will faithfully execute to the best of my ability. To the best of my ability. The office of trustee of Montgomery County Public Library. The office of trustee of Montgomery County Public Library. According to law. According to law. And I do further solemnly swear. And I do further solemnly swear. That since the adoption of the present Constitution. That since the adoption of the present Constitution. I being a citizen of this state. I being a citizen of this state. Have not fought a duel with deadly weapons. I have not fought a duel with deadly weapons. Within this state nor out of it. Within this state nor out of it. Nor have I sent or accepted a challenge to fight a duel with deadly weapons. Nor have I sent or accepted a challenge to fight a duel with a weapon. Nor have I acted as second in carrying a challenge. Nor have I acted in second as carrying a challenge. Nor aided or assisted. Nor aided or assisted. Any person thus offending, so help me God. Any person thus offending, so help me God. Raise your right hand. I do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States.
That I will support the Constitution of the United States.
And the Constitution of this Commonwealth.
The Constitution of this Commonwealth.
And be faithful and true to the Commonwealth of Kentucky.
Be faithful and true to the Commonwealth of Kentucky.
So long as I continue a citizen thereof.
So long as I continue a citizen thereof.
And that I will faithfully execute to the best of my ability.
And I faithfully execute to the best of my ability.
The office of trustee of the Montgomery County Public Library.
The office of trustee of Montgomery County Public Library.
According to law.
According to law.
And I do further solemnly swear.
And I do
Further
solemnly swear.
That since the adoption of the present Constitution.
Since the acceptance of the present Constitution.
I being a citizen of this state.
I being a citizen of the state.
Have not fought a duel with deadly weapons.
I have not fought a duel with deadly weapons.
Within this state nor out of it.
Nor in this state or out of it.
Nor have I sent or accepted a challenge to fight a duel with deadly weapons.
Nor have I sent or accepted a challenge
To fight
to
a
a duel with deadly weapons.
Nor have I acted as second in carrying a challenge.
Nor have I acted as second in carrying a challenge.
Nor aided or assisted.
Nor aided or assisted.
Any person thus offending.
Any person thus offending.
So help me
So
God.
help me God.
I'd like to welcome all our guests tonight, and our guest groups that we have here with us tonight, Citizens for Fair Taxpayers. The way we're going to work this, in order so we can get as many comments in as we can, If you will, when you stand, if you'll tell us your name, and then make your comment. Should you have a question for the board, we will record that question. This board will not answer any questions tonight because we feel that we need to get together as a board and answer the question as a board rather than an individual person. The Citizens for Fair Tax Group, how many are here representing them? Show of hands. Okay. That way, we can try to call on each one of you. I think that we need to have a 5-minute, you don't have to talk all 5 minutes, but if you start getting long-winded, we'll give you up to 5 minutes. Let me get my thing set here so we can, but who on the fair tax would like to start? Sure.
Very good. All right, well, great. Well, thanks for having our group and your guests. We much appreciate it. Thank you all for being our guests at our second meeting. Had a great turnout there, and obviously this is something of great concern. Thank you for everybody for coming tonight. It means a whole lot to the community. This is something very important, as we can tell. Obviously, a lot of people are very concerned with this issue and should be. So I'd like to go ahead and get started. I've typed a speech. I usually don't type speeches, usually just share.
Yes, your name.
Okay,
just to be on.
I'm Shannon Denniston.
Okay, thank you.
She's recording the minutes.
Okay. So tonight, I just want to, I'm going to try to stick to my speech. I mean, it's a very important issue to me. And I started on this about 2 years ago. And what I found is very startling to me as a 33-year citizen of Montgomery County. I want to make it very clear from the get-go that I love the library. I'm a big fan of the library. And when I was a child, I used to visit the library very often. My mother would take me here after school, and I would sit and read books. I enjoyed the periodicals the best. My favorite thing to do at the library was read the popular science magazines. I would sit back by the record players, and sometimes I would listen to some of the albums in the milk crate. Today, I visit the library at least once or twice a year. The library is an asset to our community, and I hope it is here for years to come. My wife Elizabeth and I have 2 daughters, ages 5 and 8, who come to the library at least once a week. My daughters are avid readers. They read more books than they watch television. Our family loves the library. I've lived in Montgomery County for 33 years. I'm a 4th generation of my family to call Mount Sterling my home. 11 years ago, Elizabeth, my wife, and I bought our first home here. We became homeowners. Shortly thereafter, we bought a couple investment properties, then another one, and another one, and another one, and today we own quite a few. We contribute around 5 figures in property taxes each year to this community. This is in addition to the payroll taxes, the sales taxes, the food taxes, the fuel taxes, and the numerous other taxes we as citizens of this county pay. A few years ago, I noticed the amount of money we paid for property taxes had been increasing exponentially. I didn't understand this because I knew our assessments had not increased. I think they should have been declining because of the economy we're in, but we're not here to debate that today. When I contacted our property value administrator, it was explained to me how some of our special taxing districts were able to increase their revenues by more than 4%. The state law says a special taxing district cannot increase its taxes it charges us beyond 4% over the previous year. And if it is being managed responsibly, they should be choosing compensating rate, which is a tax rate that generates the same amount of tax revenue for them as the previous year. The compensating rate guarantees an income to the special taxing district no less than the previous year. It sure would be great if my business had such a thing, or if your jobs had such a thing. It also has a built-in revenue increase mechanism. In other words, as Montgomery County's property values increase, so do our special taxing district budgets. Our property taxes are now so high that we've had to raise our tenants' rents by up to $100 per month. Our tenants are people who work jobs here, they live here, they raise families here, they attend church here, they come to the library and they support the library. And they're feeling the pressure from our extended recession. Times are tough for many and expected to get tougher. It hasn't been this bad since the 1960s. I think it's worse, actually. Not because I wasn't here to witness the 1960s, but because we are seeing so many families lose their homes to foreclosure. You can find a home on sale on just about every street corner in town. People have it hard right now. Over the past 3 years, I've had other homeowners and business owners ask me if I thought our property taxes were high. I do. According to Kentucky state law, the library is charging not me, but everyone in this room who resides in Montgomery County 4 times what it should be charging. It's not just the library, but the extension service, the fire department, the ambulance, and the school are also charging higher rates than they should be. Everyone here tonight is here because they're concerned. We love our library. We created you and agreed to give you 3 cents of tax for each $100 worth of property we own. You were born in 1980 and you will turn 33 this year, the same age as me. You've matured now. You've started experimenting with new and exciting things. You now offer DVD rentals and you are online. It has been a joy to watch you grow. 2 years ago, we had a serious talk. I brought something to your attention and confided in you to fix it. It has since then been explained to you by our PBA, and still nothing has been done about it. The problem is now, just 2 years later, $1 million problem. Several people met to share their ideas and talk about how we could fix the problem. There were about 25 people at that first meeting. Our second meeting nearly doubled to 50, and we're expecting 80 or more at our March 19th meeting at Old Silo. Every day, people are joining our initiative. They want to help fix this problem. It's a serious problem. We're families, individuals, and business owners who love the library. We grew up with it, and we want to pay our fair share. Some of us will pay more, just not by force, but by donation. I've spent 2 years studying this issue, meeting with government officials, both here at home and in Frankfurt, and talking with taxpayers about the best way to fix the problem. Tonight, we are presenting a proposal. It is a proposal from the people of Montgomery County. I will read that proposal now.
Do you want to save it till the last, your proposal, or, because you've gone over your time a lot, but.
Is that?
Well, I'm giving him my.
He can have some of my time too.
You can have mine.
Yeah, it's okay, whatever you want to do.
Montgomery County Library Special Taxing District Board members. Our study found that your special taxing district since 2001 has taken in between $2,811,950 and $2,908,651, more than was intended by House Bill 44 as enacted by our General Assembly in 1979. The KRS statute number is 132.010. We, the taxpayers of Mount Sterling and Montgomery County, hereby request that you roll back your real estate tax rate to $0.015 per $100, and your personal property tax rate to 2.5 pennies per $100 during your next rate adjustment period. Furthermore, we request that your board set aside $1 million into a separate fund to only be used for payment of real estate and personal property taxes for subsequent years until depleted. Subsequent years' tax rates to be calculated based on the true intent of House Bill 44 per KRS 132.010. We ask that you discontinue plans for a new library and work within your means to renovate our existing one. We ask that you work to decrease unnecessary traffic to your facility by eliminating the rental of non-educational DVD movies and implementing limits for computer and internet usage per visit. We ask that you work with local government entities to utilize their vacant spaces after hours and on weekends. Other expenditures may be lessened by utilizing no-cost service providers, including our jail inmates, for landscaping and community volunteers for labor. Side note, I've already met with Eric Jones, and he's more than willing to donate the labor for the landscaping. That'll save many thousands of dollars a year for our library. Upon request, we will provide your special taxing district with a rate calculation spreadsheet to be used to calculate future years' tax rates for real estate and personal property correctly as set forth in House Bill 44. All rate calculations going forward must be calculated by your board locally, as your board members are ultimately responsible to taxpayers in Montgomery County for the rates chosen and published. For a copy of our study and explanation of anything you are unclear about, please contact us via written correspondence at the address below. We appreciate your cooperation and ask that you respond with a letter of intent by March 31st, 2013. If full compliance by your board is not met, or in the event we do not receive your letter of intent by March 31st, 2013, then we are prepared to begin litigation via class action lawsuit. Sincerely, the Citizens for Fair Taxation, Mount Sterling, Montgomery County. Ladies and gentlemen, we love the library. We're confident our library can operate efficiently and within the terms of this proposal. With this proposal, you will make the lives of more than 26,000 people a little easier. You will still have nearly $500,000 in the bank, and it will give you $40,000 more next year than it did in 2001, just a few short years ago. We hope you go along with us by doing what the taxpayers in Montgomery County would like for you to do. Thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you, Shannon. Do we have any other comments? Yes, ma'am. Stand up and state your name.
My name is Lana Charles. I'm supported by the Eastern Homeschool Association and the Special Needs Homeschool Association. I homeschool both of my children. I do that because one was used excessive force and he had bruised ribs, pulled muscles, and bruises all over his body. If it wasn't for the library, we would not have any support. We come here on a daily basis. This lady here does his Michelle P. waiver for my son, who has autism. She's here every day working with him. He has shown how to access things through the library. He has shown how to do anything through the library. That's how he has shown. And I think I speak for every parent that if we did not have these programs, our children will not learn the things they need to do. They will not get to read the books. They would not know the words that they need to know to grow up in our society. And they wouldn't be able to get talk to other children. They would not get that association that they get. And I think this is something that they really need. This is something I'm very passionate about because this is my children. And I do have one comment about what he said. I do not want somebody in the criminal system around my children. And if they're gonna have people come up here and do stuff at the library, that will happen. And also, we need more space. I mean, there's days that I come in here, I don't have parking space because there's not enough parking out there. As I sat here today waiting for this meeting, I saw people out there, people that got schooling here. There was a lady out there teaching a child. We use this library more than anybody thinks. And we need to keep that in consideration when we make our decision. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Cheryl Avioli, and I'm here because I believe in open government, and I think it's great that everyone's here speaking because that's what makes our country great. And I commend the library for having a great service and a public service. And I commend the people who are checking your rates and making sure that you're following the laws, because when organizations start operating outside of the laws, people should have some concern. And people should be able to avail themselves of library services, fire services, road services. We've got so many special taxing districts in this state, and the citizens don't know enough about how they're working. So I think this organization should be commended for asking these tough questions. My heart goes out to you. I have kids too. We need our libraries. We want functioning libraries. But I also think there is a clear recognition that we're all under hard economic times. So maybe we're all being asked to do more with less. So it's really about sharing how you're managing your budget and the decisions you're making. I know Shannon has given some suggestions, but I'm just in favor of having an open, honest dialogue about this law and how you're interpreting it, if what you think your interpretation is consistent with the law. And you know, I think that we have some valid concerns and questions, and we appreciate your cooperation in managing the process.
Thank you so much. Other comment? Yes, sir.
My name is Barry Tawny, 343 North Maysville Street, Mount Sterling, Kentucky. I just have the one house I live in with my wife. Our kids are grown. We do not have a lot of investment property, and I'm with this lady that just spoke. I'm glad we live in a country where we can have a meeting like this, and it's not only tolerated but encouraged. And I commend everybody here, and I'm especially impressed with Chris and Donna's ability to draw a crowd in the very first library. I wanted to talk a little bit about facts and opinions. I've heard two things about the library over the last few weeks and few months, and there's a lot of fact and opinion mixed in there. I've heard that the board has not followed the law in raising the library tax, and I've heard the library tax is too high. On the first part, that the board has not followed the law, I've done my own research on that, and I've looked at videos on the web, I've looked at PowerPoint presentations, House Bill 44. I'm not a lawyer, but I feel like I'm an internet lawyer now. And on that first thing, that the library has raised the tax illegally, I found that that is not to be the case. And I don't think anybody here will say that the library board has violated the law in the way they've dealt with tax issues. It's just simply not true. There's been the law is written like it is, and the General Assembly, in its wisdom or lack thereof, wrote it the way it is. It's been looked at by the State Attorney General, and he has got a determination out from 2 years ago that said that the way library districts are calculating this tax meets the letter of the law. And the state agency that oversees libraries not only oversees the tax rates that are issued, but they participate and provide consultation to the library board in setting the tax rates. I really don't think anyone here will claim that the library board has not followed the law. Now, I have heard that they didn't follow the intent of the law. Now, when you talk about the intent of the law, you're talking about opinions. And I have lots of different opinions, and people are entitled to their opinion on this or that. But the law is the law, and opinions are opinions. So, people have opinion on all sorts of things, but an opinion on whether you think something is right or wrong or good or bad does not make it the law or illegal. The second point I've heard is the library tax is too high. And on that, that involves a lot of opinion too. Too high compared to what? Here are some facts about the library tax. The library property tax is 0.06% of the value for real property and 0.10% for personal property. Right now, Montgomery County has the lowest library tax rate of any surrounding county, except for Powell County. Montgomery County has the lowest library tax, even with the increases over the last 30 years, has the lowest library tax of any county its size in the state. Those are facts. You can look them up. There was a handout at the meeting at the golf club on this. Montgomery County, my wife and I each pay about $40 a year in library tax. We have a $145,000 house. We have an $80 library tax bill. If somebody has a $100,000 house in Montgomery County, $100,000 house, your library tax has increased by $31 in the last 30 years. Now, that's about 60 cents a week that your library tax has increased over the last 30 years. Now, that's a lot of money to some people. And what do you get for that? Well, you get this. You get a building that is severely overcrowded, provides a lot of services, internet services, books, DVDs, magazines, programs, and so forth. I think there are some handouts that talk about the various services provided by the library. It's my opinion, not a fact, but it's my opinion that learning and literacy services promote the general welfare, as the U.S. Constitution wants us all to do, and it's viewed as an asset by the business community. The business community sees learning and literacy and a literate workforce as an asset to the community. I think a lot of people in the room would agree with that. Again, it is the fact the building's overcrowded. It's been overcrowded for many years. It's a documented fact that it does not meet minimal state standards, and I know the board has been working for many years on trying to address that. I fully support the actions taken by the library board to address the overcrowding. I approve of the extended service hours, the branch in Camargo, expanding bookmobile services, and I approve of the plan to move this branch to the old Mary Child's Hospital building where there's more room. I don't think it's beneficial for this county to reduce the library budget by 70%, park the bookmobile, close the Camargo branch, lay off staff, cut back hours, and cut back services. I don't think that will be beneficial for Montgomery County. Those, again, are my opinions. Those are my opinions. So as the board thinks about all this, I hope we can all recognize that there are facts and that there are opinions, and I hope everybody can acknowledge and be respectful and considerate of the different opinions people have. Thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am.
My name is Virginia Nickel, N-I-C-K-E-L-L. Wait, don't misspell my name. I would like to go on record saying I am against this tax
Tax Act deal that is going on. And the main reason is because of the community services that would be discontinued. For example, the Camargo Library, the children's programs, free adult learning programs, such things as the bookmobile. And being an avid reader and also not having a lot of money, I spend a lot of time at either the Mount Sterling Library or the Camargo Library, utilizing their computers, their newspapers, their books, their movies, and their magazines. I live in Camargo, and I was unemployed for 9 months. And during this time, I used the computers searching for a job. Almost every day I was there and working on my resume. And many times I walked to the library to utilize these services. In fact, I have participated in many of the free adult training classes that had been offered through the library, such as Excel, resume writing, work at the home job opportunities. In fact, during my interviews, I used one of the new styles of resume. I'd always used this one same style. And when I went to their class, they showed me a new way. And I used this during one of my job interviews. I went for the first interview, I went for the second, and now I got hired. And also, I would like to commend the library for all the free programs they have for the children. Because not everybody has access to the internet and all this stuff, you know. And so these children are encouraged to come out to read and participate in these activities. This enhances their learning and social abilities. Our community development will definitely be hindered by cutting out these special programs. And I do hope that, you know, that I realize, you know, taxes, of course I pay taxes, not as much as the people over here, but I would like to see all the services that the library has to offer to remain and to increase. Thank you, and that is my opinion. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
If I may, and I agree. The biggest thing
Your
about
name, please.
My name is Douglas Gusford, spelled G-E-S-S-F-O-R-D. And I agree with not misconstruing facts from opinions, and anything like this can get wildfire if you allow it to happen. However, in doing research on the very complicated set of bills that were passed by our state Congress, I ran across Bill 173.790, which, unlike a lot of bills, this one is very specific to the library. And it states, so I would tend to say, opinion that it was done wrong may in fact not be an opinion, it actually may be a fact. It says, the special ad valorem tax rate for maintenance and operation of public library districts created pursuant to KRS 173.710 to 173.800 before July 13th, 1984, which I believe this library falls into, shall not increase or decrease unless duly certified petitions requesting the increase or decrease of tax rates of specifically stated amounts is signed by 51% of the number of duly qualified voters voting at the last general election in each county in that district. Such petition shall be filed with the fiscal court in each county in the district no later than 90 days after the date of the first signature of those 51% of the voting public. The fiscal court shall order the court to increase or decrease the ad valorem tax as stated in the petition. And it goes on and does some more stuff. But according to this document, which specifically identifies this library because it's pre-1984 and it was created by petition, not by a general vote, says that the tax was not permitted to increase or decrease, and I'll leave this copy for you all. Shall not increase or decrease without a petition instructing them to do so. And I know that they're House Bill 44, I mean, I've heard it forever, and it started in, I don't know, 1962, and I even saw stuff on the web today that said 2012, they're still working on it, so they still haven't figured it out right. But if indeed that law is instated, and I believe it is, it's pretty clear, then really you were undertaxing the public as of 2000, and you were overtaxing the public as of 2005. And if you go back to a 3% straight across the board on all the taxes and figure it out according to what it is, we have collected $1.35 million more than what the law permits us to collect, which is an improperly calculated tax. That's all I have to say.
Thank you so much. Next, Tiffany.
Loretta Conkright, CONKRIGHT. Like she said earlier, I work with her son who has autism, and we are here every day of the week. And it's not just about the library, you know. The library, we all know, and if you don't know, come any day of the week, anytime. It's packed all the time. We need more room. I don't think that you're asking them to please do something different. I think you are demanding, by threat of litigation, that they do it your way. If there is a tax structure problem, it needs to be addressed, but I think you're demanding and going about it the wrong way. We don't need to cut off all this. These kids, I have 5 kids of my own. I work very hard. You know, and you have 5 or 6 homes. I'm sorry, y'all may think I'm something. I don't feel sorry for you.
Well, he worked hard for that, you know?
I understand that. I understand that completely, sir. I get that, because I kill myself and have done so for a long time. I haven't been able to make it there.
Well, that's not his fault.
That's not his fault, and I'm not blaming him
Now
for
wait,
that.
we're
But
not gonna get into a back and forth.
what I'm saying is, if
Please.
you don't wanna pay that extra $100 in the tax, sell your real estate. This man is happy to pay his $80 a year. He don't wanna pay no more, he's not getting real estate. That's fine. You don't wanna pay it, that's fine. But these kids that are coming in here, don't give them a DVD to watch a movie at home, because that's not educational. May not be. But sometimes you have to reach outside to get somebody. You can't just shove a book down their face and say, here, do it this way. You have to reach a child at their point where they are and bring them. I see kids come in here every day. They just want that DVD, that's all they want. And these librarians connect with those kids. And I've seen kids come in for just a movie, just a movie, just a movie. And that one time he walks out with a book. No, blue hair, big ear, walks out with a book? Really? I'm an educator. That doesn't happen. Kids don't care about reading. But these librarians work their tail ends off to help these kids that a lot of the time they don't have parents at home that give a crap. They just don't. You know, they don't have people at home that care if they learn to read. They don't have it. These librarians are not just librarians, they're family. I'm here every day of the week, every single day of the week, and I see the difference that they make in this community. If there's a tax structure problem, I agree, we need to look at it, okay? But don't come in with an axe and say, cut it off. If we need a new structure, we need to look at it, and it needs to be proposed, voted on, and done. I agree with that wholeheartedly. I don't want anybody doing anything against the law, and I don't know every one of y'all, but I can almost guarantee none of these people sitting up here are living the high life on library money. Now, if I'm wrong, I'm sorry, but I don't think they're out here trying to, screw the city out of money to live a good life. And I just want us to slow down and think, what's it gonna do to our community? What is it gonna do to our children? Like I said, I work hard, I'm not as well off as anybody, a lot of people in this room. I have 5 kids. We don't have the luxury of internet because I chose to have so many children. That's my fault, my bad, that's okay. But what I'm saying is, I can come up here and go to the library and my kids, there's work at school. I don't know how many of y'all know this. There are some classes at school, my 5th grader cannot do homework at home. It has to be done on the internet. Without the library, my kid's gonna fail his class. So I think we just need to slow down and just think about what we're gonna do to this community if we back it up and cut it off. And that's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir. You had yours up first.
Sorry, I'm short, nobody can see me.
That's all right.
Stand up. Okay,
Wait a
I
minute,
had
give me your name, please.
Tiffany, where we're gonna drop your phone? Tiffany,
Okay.
Tiffany.
Go ahead.
Alright, I had to follow this lady, I had to, because she touched on a point that I needed to touch on. These ladies up here, actually, Miss Hildreth, I've been coming here for 17 years. 17 years every day, almost nonstop. Miss Hildreth watched me grow up from, well, I ain't very much taller than what I was. I'm 25 now. I'm 25 now. And these ladies here were a big part of my life growing up. I did come from a troubled home. I did. And had it not been for the library, I'd be in prison right now, to be honest. If I couldn't come and talk to these ladies, I have a 3.7 GPA now, as it stands. And I've had that since I was in the 8th grade, my bad. 8th grade, because she pushed me when I was a kid to read better and beyond, and pushed me to the summer reading program that they've had since I was 5 years old. And I've been in that program since I was a kid because of Miss Hildreth. And I was here when Miss Melissa started, and I watched her start. I watched every librarian in this place start. I'm a native, as you are, but I'm not faulting him for having 5 homes or so many cars. I don't have none of that. I rent a $350 apartment down here. I mean, I don't have nothing like that. I don't even own my own car, and I don't fault you for that. I wanted to do bigger and better things, and I commend you for that. I really do. I admire people like you, but please don't step on the people like me that don't have that luxury. $80 in tax, like this man said. Psh, I wish. That's all I had to pay here. Do you know how many fines I've had here? But these ladies have helped, and they've offered these. I mean, I was a sit-in nanny for 5 years. I brought 7 kids down here through the week and 13 on the weekends. And they was open on Sundays for a little while there. I remember that. I was bringing, and then they closed again. But anyway, I passed my education. My education came from here. Over 57% of the population back when I was in school 8 years ago didn't own computers. They didn't own the full set of, the encyclopedias. They didn't own a Webster's. I didn't own a Webster's. I had to come here to do my English and everything like that. If this place hadn't been here, I'd have failed. But as it was, I was a straight A and B student, and I mean, I wasn't a perfect angel, and I'm not even trying to say that. They know. But I mean, if it hadn't been for them, there'd be no way I'd have got my education the way I did. I'm a very intelligent person because of the library as it is today. Yeah, they may get overcrowded. You may not find a parking spot. But you always know when you do get in here, you're going to get what you need to be done, and you're going to get it from a friendly staff. They do, and not only do they connect with the children, they connect with people my age. They connect with teenagers. I mean, Miss Hildreth can walk out and talk to a 13-year-old child, and they'd be your best friend in 5 minutes. Miss Melissa can get your life story in lesson 2. Miss Natalie, I won't even go there. Miss Natalie is one of the greatest librarians they've had, besides Miss Hildreth and Miss Melissa. And I mean, all the ladies on the staff. I have no favorites. I mean, I have a favorite every day. Different one, They're great people. It's a great location. I walk everywhere. I live 5 minutes away. It's a great location. Everybody can get here. Everybody brings their children here. I mean, some of the people know the kids by name. The kids know the librarians. It's not just about movies. It's not just about an education. It's about a learning experience.
It's about community.
Exactly. I mean, not only is the ladies back here like a family, but they connect with the whole entire community. They bring everybody in and envelop them as a family. You don't feel like a stranger when you come into the library. They greet you by name. That's all I wanted to say. I ain't never been here before, so I just, you know, but I don't want you guys to close it down or anything like that. That would be bad.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
My name is Sharon Stapleton, and I think people have kind of lost sight of why we're here. It's not about closing the library. It's not about doing away with programs. This is about fair taxation. What you're supposed to do, what you're allowed by law to do. It isn't any different than breaking any other law. So to say we need this or we need that to get it by the wrong means, it's not asking for the programs to be shut down. It's asking for the taxes to be fairly paid across the board. You know, whether we have one home or ever how many, that doesn't enter into the picture. The picture is, are we being taxed at a fair rate? And if you all can say you have done that, then there's not a problem. But if you're taxing property owners unfairly, I think you need to look at that and address it. It has nothing to do with the programs at the library. The library's great. Nobody's asking for it to be closed. They're asking for the right thing to be done.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
I'm gonna do something a little bit different here. I'm gonna pass
First,
these
give us
out.
your name.
Rick Gunderson.
Hey, Rick.
Can you pass these down for me? I appreciate it. I'm not gonna pretend to know what every parent thinks. I'm not gonna pretend that I did all the studies. The one person that everybody in this room are challenged is to go and talk to the TVA. She'll tell you which way it is, which way things are supposed to be. She'll tell you what the problem is. I did put together a speech, and I don't normally do that either, and you'll see that I'm not a professional speaker. I'm just a regular guy. I'd rather be working right now. I'd rather be working out, outside. But I do want to keep some food for thought here. But anyway, my name is Rick Gunderson. My wife Carol and I live in Montgomery County. We love the area and consider the library a valuable asset to the community. Montgomery County Citizens for Fair Taxation is a grassroots group, meaning there are no leaders. Anyone can join and come to the meeting to express their opinion. These are your friends and neighbors who feel they're not being represented in the taxation process. After study, it is understood that the property tax rate calculation is being done incorrectly, which errs in taking too much money. This can be confirmed by the county TVA, as I said. We ask that this be addressed. At this time, I'd make some statements along with some questions for reasonable people that everybody should consider. One, we are in the worst economic downturn since the Great Depression. We must come to terms with this. Studies show that the taxes have a negative effect on the economy, which makes things worse, not better. I gave Chris Beck a copy of this particular study I referred to. I didn't have time to make other copies. I apologize. Businesses are being destroyed. One tax that we talked about, everybody here, we talked about residential tax, but don't forget that the business tax, business property tax is even higher, and it's taking a toll on businesses, which has a trickle-down effect. Both of those have a trickle-down effect on everybody, including your rent back there. If you can afford it, you said your rent was $350, if you can just afford $450. Whoever referred to rent. Business being destroyed, and the reason is the sales revenues are down and rising costs. An unprecedented number of people, probably someone you know, have lost their jobs. The cost of living has risen dramatically. It is actually much higher than the government reports. Foreclosure rates on homes are at record levels and families are being destroyed. The number one reason given is money pressure. How many families could be saved if they didn't have the burden of high and unnecessary taxes? Worst thing is, there's no foreseeable end to this trend. During an economic downturn, everyone must tighten their belts, including the government. Yet the government is doing the opposite. The library must be a good steward of our money and its use. Why hasn't the original precinct tax gone down as it should with a growing tax base? Rather, the library's tax has gone up 170% on real property and 305% on tangible property. What is being done to make sure the library remains a solvent organization so it can be around in 5 or 10 years, even longer? It's not prudent for anyone to run an operation without a budget. It's unwise to raise your operational budget in these times of economic stress. Are all the library programs necessary? Cuts may be necessary to continue its operation. Is the expense of the new building necessary? Perhaps this money should be used to preserve the library operations until the economy improves. If the rates are kept high to pay for the new building, will the rates be lowered once the new building's purchased? The government cannot do it all. Priority should be given to dwindling resources, especially those that save life and limb. Libraries have been around for hundreds of years and historically funded through charitable contributions. Have we given this, the idea of this as a valuable resource? The library was voted down before it was passed by petition. Let the people who want the library find a way to pay for it. Don't force others to pay for it at the risk of losing their families and homes, especially those that cannot afford to do so. That's un-American. That's all I have to say.
Thank you so much. Yes, ma'am.
Hello, I'm Timmy Park May, T-I-M-I, B-A-R-K-E-M-A-Y. I live at 49 West High Street, and going back to your comment about perhaps libraries being volunteer, I don't know how long you've lived here, but I moved here in 1977, and I realize now it makes me officially older than Mr. Denniston. So be that as it may, I was a member of the Mount Sterling Women's Club. And the Mount Sterling Women's Club primary focus was education. And what we did was work our fannies off raising money for what is now the Office for Faulkner and King. We gave money. We had bake sales, we had lunches, we had historic home tours. We had anything we could do to legally earn $1, where we all donated and paid the utilities until we could get a public library. My husband used to be mayor in this town. Do you know what industries look for when they're looking to locate? They're looking for what kind of school system do you have? What kind of library do you have? What kind of recreational facilities did you have? Nobody wants to live in a town that doesn't have a ballpark, that doesn't have a decent library, that doesn't have decent fire and ambulance service. And when we do that, what we have to do as a community and as a country is get it together and realize that if we want to have a good life, we pull our tax dollars. We are the government. If we have a question about how the funding is being raised, that's a legitimate question. Ask them. But I do agree with this lady. It sounds very offensive to me as a Montgomery County citizen who is not a member of your group that you are presuming to speak for all Montgomery County taxpayers. I pay taxes. I support the library. I think we need a bigger building. I don't know what funding you're going to cut here. I mean, really, there's not waste. Every single one of these board members, I thank them, and I really think some people have treated them disrespectfully by inferring that they are somehow illegally raising the taxes, that they've done something wrong. They haven't. They are serving for us. They're not getting paid a dime to do this. This is purely volunteerism. And if people don't start being respectful of the people in our community who join together to make our community better, we're not going to have people willing to serve on boards. So I just want to take a minute and say, I support you. I'm in Montgomery County. I'll pay double the taxes for the library if I need to, because I think we're clear up to $100 a year. How many hardbound books is that? How many video rentals is that? How many magazine subscriptions is that? And to walk in here and see these kids learning and being enthusiastic and running through the door with their little books, we've got to have an educated workforce. How are you going to get an educated workforce? They have to learn somewhere, and not everyone has the computers at home and the different reference books and everything that give them access to a whole world out there where maybe one of these days the fellow paying $350 a month in rental has got the means to have a better job where he can afford to buy a home, where he can afford to have some investment property. So I just want to go on record as thanking the library board for their service. I do not believe at all that anybody has done anything wrong, and if there was any wrongdoing, which I doubt, it was purely done with no deliberate intent. And I thank you all for listening.
Let me get one that's spoken yet. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Janet Cook, K-O-C-H. I am a retired teacher of 30 years. And this is not a good fact, but it is a fact that the state of Kentucky is ranked below number 10 in literacy. With that ranking, I don't understand how anybody could consider cutting library when we definitely need everything that we have to go towards that, to make things better for our children so that we can be better. I mean, we love the programs that are in the library, but the library wants to become better, to be more updated, to keep with the times, so that we can become better and more competitive with other states. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yes, sir.
Tony Harris. First, you're talking about competition and being competitive. I read an article today about Barnes and Noble, and anyway, the guy pretty much said he was wanting to take it over and buy it all out. But books and learning and reading is very important. Doing it the old way, where you go, everybody goes to the library, checks out books. And I love libraries, and nobody's talking about cutting the library funding. It's just about scaling it back and being responsible taxpayer dollars. They're estimating that within 10 years, a lot of libraries will be gone due to what? Due to what? If I want a book, guess what? I can get it. I can get it right now, within 2 or 3 minutes. I've been in this library a couple times. I retrained myself in a different area, but I did it at my own computer. And I know a lot of you don't have computers. I'm sorry, but when you said you were talking about something being free, cutting the free services, it's not free. Somebody has to pay for it. So we can't keep taxing more and more. Mr. Gunderson, you hit upon it. Taxes and the cost of living has gone up so much across the board for so many people. We can't stand it anymore. Taxes are going up on the library, taxes are going up on fire, taxes are going up on everything. And we can't stand it. We can't do it. We can't keep doing it. I have a brand new car. I have a brand new one. I just drove it off a lot a few months ago. I don't feel bad about that. I worked hard for it. I retrained myself. I work every day. I had to take a day off just the other day because my back was hurt. I worry about my job. I go to it. I study every day, different procedures, learning to do something new. But I don't come to the library for it. I get on my smartphone. I get on the computer. I get assistance from other people. We're just talking about cutting back the tax rates. We're not talking about cutting the programs. We're not talking about that. We know it's important.
Where's that information coming from? I mean, who's putting that? Who's telling people that we're wanting to cut programs or wanting to give up the bookmobile?
I'd like to raise mine.
Let me, we're not gonna answer any questions. Because we're just gonna write them down. But don't get me wrong, we will answer your questions from the board. We just need to do it as a collective group rather than me giving you my opinion and her giving you her opinion. And, but I'll let.
Barry Conning, we have heard from several speakers tonight about the need to cut back library services.
May need.
There's a proposal that was read by this fellow over here, this Mr. Denniston, just read a proposal to cut the library tax rate by 75%, from 60 1/100ths of 1% to 15 1/100ths of 1%. Now, somebody might have to check my math on that, but that's a 75% cut. That's a 3/4 cut in the library. The income of the library is 90% local tax. This is what smaller federal and state government looks like, folks. For the last 10 years, there's been a push to cut at the federal level. And, you know, we've got a lot of Social Security expenditures at the federal level. I don't want to get into all Social Security, Medicaid, but programs that the federal government runs besides Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, and military. Those programs are being cut back. There is no federal block grant program to build a new library. The state aid the library gets has been cut. If you cut the libraries, if you cut 90% of the library's income by 75%, you will have at least half the staff left. You will have hours cut back. You will have less bookmobile services. You will see the Camargo branch closed. You will not see this overcrowding here addressed. And you know, to try to present this as some kind of conceptual, esoteric issue about dealing with the tax and say it's not going to affect services, I mean, you're talking about real cuts that are going to result in real cuts. And the library folks, when they do their budget, I know they have planning sessions, they can probably address that. But if you cut 75% of 90% of the library's budget, it is going to be cut.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Doug Gesford again. I think I still have a little bit of my 5 minutes.
It's all right.
There's a lot of emotion in this room, and I've never been known to be the fact tracker, but I think we could probably use a little fact tracking. And just for everybody's edification, part of the taxes that get assessed to us from you and other districts is personal property tax. And let me tell you something from a business owner standpoint, how ridiculous that is. I understand how if I have inventory at year end that I should pay, they decide I should pay tax on it. That's not a problem. But do you all know that when we buy toilet paper for our employees and we buy Comet cleanser and we buy Clorox to keep the facility clean, the state arbitrarily assigns that 1/12 of our budget on maintenance materials is in our building at the end of the year, and therefore we pay taxes on it. So we pay taxes when we buy it, and then they decide arbitrarily to pay taxes on it. And part of that is the assessment that the library is permitted to do by taking personal property. So there's a lot of taxes that are hidden, and I will tell you that that costs our ability to increase incomes of people. That costs us the ability to expand our business. That costs us ability or inability to do more things with our employees. So just let's get that one thing straight. The other thing is the library has $1.4 million in reserve. Now, what this meeting ought to be about is somebody raising their hand and saying, why aren't you doing 7 days a week? If you have the ability to educate more, train more, help people more, do more, then why aren't we doing more? A bigger, nicer, fancier building might not be the right way to spend that money if we have such dire needs within this facility right now. 7 days a week, 12 hours a day, maybe that's a better way. Camargo, maybe open Camargo 6 days a week and so forth. Because if people have to have access to what we deem to be the proper thing to help education and literacy, then let's help education and literacy. Holding back $1.4 million that has been accrued since 2005, that's really not necessarily appropriate. And to comment on the comment again about the proposal forward, 2 years ago, Shannon personally came here to ask and what we're doing about it and got nowhere. Not because everybody hates Shannon Dennison, it's just because it was one employee, it was one person, you know? So if we're a majority ruled people, it doesn't work. So we're bringing a larger group together saying, look folks, we made a proposal. Is it radical? Might be radical. What we're looking for is a response. Because what we have to do is we have to be smarter about our expenditures. If we don't change the way we do things and look at every way of turning the stone to figure out a better way to spend that money to not hurt somebody, then we're not doing our job. And I believe every one of these people, there's not a criminal among them. Nobody's accusing you of doing anything wrong. And I've seen the laws, and the laws are very complicated and misconstrued, and then you have a government agency that acts like more of an advocate than a check and balance for you all, the government of local, or the
Department of Local Government.
Yeah, the Department of Local Government. They're more of a hidden thing than a helpful thing. So I believe that what happened was somewhat arbitrary. And the other thing that happens with folks, and I've been around folks long enough to know this, that when you're in a room and you're trying to figure out how to do good for the community, there isn't a person in this room that wouldn't say, well, that big Oz thing called taxes, if we're allowed to, let's go ahead and do it, because it will help us. It'll help us do more with people. The only thing we're asking is, let's be a good steward of that job. There's a check and balance associated with it, and that's all we're asking. There's nobody out here that's going to eliminate every DVD, cut the services of a thing. You know, folks, if we're really that desperate and we really need that space, then take some of that $1.4 million that will not add to the value of the training of any Montgomery employees, there's gotta be some in there, and spend it right out there with personnel, time, hours, and equipment to make it better. The only thing we're asking is, do you really want to add a $1.4 million build fund to it, and then hope that all the costs associated with running that doesn't go up? Because I think, if I'm not mistaken, your personal property.
Doug, I'll give you 30 seconds.
Okay.
I got it kinda.
Okay, the personal property, I think, is at its maximum allowable, and the other ones are pretty high, and what I don't wanna see is, I don't wanna see a meeting 2 years from now in which we're charging 20 cents or 25 cents per library, at least not the way it came about this time. Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Yes, sir.
Forgive me, I get emotional.
Can we have your name first?
Sure. Frank Harris, I'm from Lexington, I'm not from Mount Sterling. I hope you'll let me speak anyway. In Lexington, we have a school board that is allowed to raise taxes at will anytime they want to, no oversight. We are now spending $12,000 per student per year in Lexington, and still have one of the worst school systems in places of anywhere in the country. Lexington's fairly affluent compared to a lot of places. Money is not always the solution to problems. Quite often it's looking within and looking how to do things better and how to look to your neighbors, to your friends and neighbors. I'm a volunteer. I do a lot of do-it-yourself projects with my volunteer friends. And I donate, when I read a book, when I buy a book, I donate my books to the library. I donate my DVDs to the library. I've decluttered my entire house by giving away as much stuff as I can. And I'm a firm believer in do-it-yourselfism. I'm a firm believer in being a volunteer. And instead of looking to the government to be your community, look to each other to be your community. If you've got the internet and your neighbor doesn't, why don't you invite your neighbor over and say, know where I'm going. Abraham Lincoln educated himself by candlelight in a little log cabin with a dirt floor. You can get an education anywhere you want to if you have the desire to. I contend that it's not a matter of how much money you spend on a building. It's not how much money you spend on books. It's a matter of instilling that wanting to learn.
Thank you so much.
One more question, I'm
Yes.
sorry. One more quick
Wait
comment.
just a minute. Let me call him so I have a chance to speak yet. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I don't have anything prepared,
Name,
but,
please.
I'm sorry, Ken Miller.
Okay.
And, you know, I wanted to dispel the idea that this group is all rich people. I'm an hourly worker. And, you know, my wife drives an old car, that's not your problem. But, you know, I've learned that we're trying to put together a budget. I'm finally at a way too late in life. I'm learning that you can't buy stuff you don't have money for. And, you know, I'm hearing a lot about the libraries, the social services, and how people need it. And I don't want to say anything negative about that, but, you know, I have to ask about the mission of the library. When did the library's mission become a social service? And who uses it? And who decides, you know, what services are provided and to who? I live in Montgomery County, but it's a 15-mile round trip here. And, you know, if I start doing a little math at 25 miles to the gallon, and I bought a book online the other night, and if I would come here to check it out and come back to return it, you know, I bought the book for $9.54 off Walmart and had it shipped to store. $10 with tax. You know, I don't see how the library, you know, there's a lot of people in Montgomery County that don't live in Mount Sterling. And, you know, I don't understand this services stuff. And, you know, I know the library's been a great benefit to a lot of people, and I appreciate that. But are we paying taxes for everybody in the county? Can they utilize that? Is it practical? I'm thinking, you know, coming to the library to utilize the services might be cost effective for a lot of people. It is for us. And, you know, I have to comment on the resources. You know, as far as modernization and whatnot, my daughter came here looking for a book to do a report on a president one time, and we didn't have one single book on that president in the library. And, you know, I understand the budget issues, I understand the size and the economic infrastructure of this county and the city, and so I'm not faulting anyone for that, but I'm just talking about practicality. I'm wondering about modernization. I don't know if anybody's familiar with the One Laptop Per Child project, and they moved into tablets, but you know, 3 years from now, 5 years from now, you might have ruggedized, inexpensive tablets with digital content that's far more versatile and can offer far greater services without the space requirement of shelves of books. Then I wonder how many books have not been checked out in the last 6 months, in the last year, and just, you know, there may be better ways of providing services. And as far as social services, you know, how does the library end up providing social services? It seems like that should come out of general state, local budget, and you know, the taxpayer, you know, on ballot type approval and some type of oversight, rather than some special tax district who's expanding the mission to cover cracks and needs in community services. So, you know, I just have to question, you know, the role of the library and who gets to determine that. And I thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. Yes.
One more thing.
Yes.
I know you're not gonna answer any
Give me
questions.
your name one more time.
Tony Harris.
Okay.
Can we leave a question? Is that
Sure
what-
you can, absolutely.
We're going, okay, I was
We
gonna leave
encourage you.
Because it was about the new library,
Yes.
about if you guys had signed a letter of intent or anything.
We encourage you
about
to
it.
leave your questions.
Can you answer that you can't even answer that
I
question?
won't answer any questions.
Wow.
Not
Wait, can
tonight.
I just
That's
ask you,
unbelievable.
when will you answer the questions? That's my
Well,
overriding question.
Yeah, we're going, when we get back together as a board, our next meeting, and have our questions, and we as a board will sit down and go through those questions. Like I said, we want to answer these questions as a board, not as an individual
How long,
person.
right, but just in terms of big picture.
And that'll be next
estimating
month.
Next month.
Mhm.
May I make a request? You've had a great deal of participation here, as I
Yeah,
understand it,
wonderful.
from when you came to our meeting. Much greater participation level than ever before. May I make a request that you consider getting together within a week and giving an answer? I understand why you don't wanna answer a question individually.
Yeah.
I encourage you, because 12 minds are smarter than one. You know, it's just a well-known fact. Can we request that? Is it possible to actually meet and go over any questions that are given so that you can respond in a more timely fashion?
Melissa would like, let her
I
respond
will
to one
address
of your.
that.
Yeah.
They might get together and be able to do it in 2 weeks, but we can't do a week because of the, have to advertise a special meeting. That would be a special called meeting.
Okay.
And there are regulations on when that has to be advertised and how many times it has
And
to
we
be
respect
advertised
that.
and how it has to be advertised to be an open meeting. And any time the board gets together, we have to invite the public at a
Yeah.
special meeting.
Every board meeting,
Or any
every board
meeting.
meeting is an open meeting.
So, 1 week we can't get that
Yes.
out and advertised.
Alan McCormick, I live here in Mount Sterling. And one thing I think I haven't heard mentioned is this new property, which is the old Mary Child's Hospital. It has been being torn down for the last year. They had already contracted to tear it down before the library made it known that they wanted to purchase it. So they hadn't been able to give them quick answers on when they could get the property. But there's around 4 acres there. Got a building on it. and they have torn down the rest of the hospital with the idea of saving that and selling it to the library. They've been repairing the plumbing and the wiring to get it ready for the library. The library's worked on finding a place for 4 or 5 years. Now, if they don't carry through with it, and that property sells to somebody else next month, it's gone. It may be gone for 100 years, no telling how long. There's not another piece of property like it in Mount Sterling, and there won't be anything like it at the price. They have to start a new building. They can't use this building, it wasn't prepared for it. The parking lot, as you see tonight, is small, and the library actually owns half of it. The church up here on the other end owns the other half, and the church is for sale, I've heard. When somebody else buys it, they may not agree for the library to use it. So this is a deal that's sitting here, it's practically finished. And we would get a new library at maybe a half or a third or a fourth of the cost of building one from scratch. And one thing that nobody's mentioned is if they had to start a new building or do something here, especially if they did anything in this area to this building, you've got to move everything out to someplace else, where I don't know, and operate for maybe a year while they build the new library or fix this one up. Now, one other thing, Shannon tonight talked about the vote that was taken at the last meeting, and I attended the last meeting of the Fair Tax group, and I consider myself a member of this group. Are there any certain, I haven't passed any test or I don't know, what do you all do to get to be a member of the group?
We have a list that you register. There's a registration process.
Okay, I haven't registered. I did last meeting. You had a vote on 2 things. Both of them would take the $1 million away from the library. Now, if you take that $1 million away, you can forget a whole lot of services that they presently give. I'm not a member of the board, and I have no connection other than my wife is a member. And she's always been interested in books, and is interested now, and can hardly come in and out of the library without taking 4 or 5 books home with her. I don't see how she gets them read. Nevertheless, at this last meeting, the one that I attended, they took a vote. And both would remove the money from the library. There would be no new library. There'd be a lot of services that would have to be canceled. I voted against that. I wrote on there, I vote against both of these. I am very much for our library. And however, the newspaper said the vote was unanimous for it. I don't know whether anybody else noticed that or not.
I also voted against it at that meeting.
I know there were 2 that didn't vote for it. So what's going on about that, I don't know.
Can I explain that?
Sure.
Only the members of the group voted on that, and we didn't have a write-in option. There were specifically 2 options, and the other option was not to vote.
Okay, glad that cleared that up.
So I'm sorry, I was confused on that.
I'll have to join next time. I do agree with a lot of the things you're working on, but I think you jumped on one group here that's practically completed a transaction. We need the new library. And
so there has been a letter of intent signed, I guess?
as I understand it, I say I'm not on the board and I don't know where they are exactly. But it sounds like if they're fixing the hospital and have torn it down, leaving the part that this group needs, that they intend to finally sell it to them.
Should that have been relayed to the public, taxpayers, by the board?
Well, fortunately, they already have the money. If we take it away from them, then they won't be able to buy it. We'll miss an
30
opportunity.
seconds, Ollie. I've got to really watch my time.
Yeah, my
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Actually, Mr. McCormick, there is a way.
Name, please.
Corey Soldish. There is a way for the board to get the new library. And actually, House Bill 44 outlines it quite nicely. If this board and this town decides that this library needs more than 4% greater than last year, they put it before the people. And if the people decide that, yeah, this is an old building, we need more services for more people, we need a new library, if 51% of those people say yes, we get a new library. And Rich Shannon and Rich everyone else, they pay for it.
Exactly.
Because we voted. That's what House Bill 44 says. That was its intent. So factually or opinion or whoever, it actually spells out. The purpose of House Bill 44 was to say, hey guys, quit raising taxes by 12 or 20%. You can do 4, more than last year's budget. Anything more than that, you need to go to the people. That sounds pretty American, pretty, I hate the word democratic, but it's because this is a republic, not a democratic. It's not a democracy. But in that specific vote, 51% will make everyone buy a new library. And if by chance the Citizens for Fair Tax take that $1 million away, the board can the next day petition and say, we need that $1 million back. We're gonna give it to you, but we're gonna take whatever percentage we need, maybe 18%. We'll give you back the $1 million that we didn't illegally take. We may have accidentally or whatever. Doesn't make a difference how. But we'll give that $1 million back and then tell you we need 1.5 or 10 or let's go big, $50 million library. Let's show Lexington, sorry Frank, let's show Lexington what a library is, but it'll be up to everybody. And I respect every one of you, but there's a reason House Bill 44 took it out of your hands and put a big decision like more than 4% in our hands. So that's why I think we're a lot bigger.
That's why the Revolutionary War was fought.
Not against these people.
No, but
I
the
just wanted
voting
a
is.
question for the next meeting.
Give us your name again.
Loretta Concrete. I'm not real, I didn't do any of the fact checking and all that good stuff, so what I would ask is, the House Bill 44 apparently says that you all can raise it up to 4% from the prior year, correct? Unless you put it to a vote?
4% of revenue.
Okay.
Except for that law that says they're not supposed to do that.
Could you all, maybe bring it to our attention as to what the tax increase rates have been? You know?
Percentages each year.
Do the revenue for the
each
last 10
year.
years.
You know? Or we can do it on our own and bring it out, so that everybody's clear on whether or not there was more than a 4% increase.
Let me get Nick here.
Nick Grodowski. Tom, I would like to, if you can write questions for next meeting, if you can answer us, what's the deal with the new location? What's the deal, if you already signed a contract, you wrote a letter of intent, where are you at? Because it seems like you cannot answer the questions where we try to understand.
We'll be glad to. Yes, sir.
Rick Anderson again. I just wanted to go along with her that she said we should slow down. And I agree with 100%. The whole reason that this has come to this tonight is because everybody's afraid that you're gonna commit yourselves too much and you're gonna go out of business, what's gonna happen. And so you should have slowed down if you haven't by now. Slow down and take a look at what you're doing, because that new big building is gonna cost a lot more money in operating expenses. And I respect every one of you too. And I think you all have fine minds that you can put together and come back with some answers to some of these questions. But the fact of the matter is, it won't do anybody any good if the library goes out of business.
question.
Stand up, please.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Give your name.
My name is Virginia Nickel, and the question I have is, if they take the $1 million away from the library fund, where's it gonna go and what's it gonna go for?
Can I answer that?
Yes, you can.
Our proposal is, after speaking with the PBA, and actually we had a private meeting with our local government, and I don't know why they're not here tonight. Wish they would, because this
Who
is
would
really
that be, Shannon?
their issue. Fiscal court.
Okay.
And we had a meeting with them, and in that meeting, there weren't any decisions made, but there were some comments made. And the comment was that it would be a nightmare to try to figure out how to return this money to the public. You know, how do we go about that? You know, and the people we'd have to pay to do that would probably eat into a big chunk of that money, and that'd be irresponsible. So what we decided to do, what would be best, is pay it forward. So for the next 3 to 6 years, that $1 million could be put into a fund that could only be used to pay the library tax portion, the correct portion, which is 1.5 pennies per $100 of real property, 2.5 pennies per 100 for personal property, and I believe it's 3 cents for the other 2 classes of property. We have 4 classes of property. Watercraft is one, and motor vehicles the other. So what we decided as a group, what will be the fairest option would be to pay that forward for the next, we come up with like 4 years, I think it was. So essentially, the library would not take a tax from the people anymore due to their mistake, and instead pull it out of that fund to fund the library for the next 3 or 4 years, or maybe 6 years. I would like to think the library in this day and age could get by on a lot less than they are right now, and a lot even, you know, less than they did 10 years ago, you know, because of technology. Instead of buying more computers, let's buy some $100 tablets, some Kindle Fires. I was doing some math the other day. We could buy every child in Montgomery County a Kindle Fire with that money that's in the reserve account. There's a lot of things you can do with $1 million. It's a whole lot of money, and you know, it's a whole lot of money, and you can do a whole lot of good with it. You know, we would much rather see a 24/7 library than I think a new one. You know, and I believe if we were to take a vote here tonight of the people of Montgomery County, people that are passionate are here tonight, I'm pretty sure that our proposal would pass. I'm confident of that. But we're not here to take a vote. We understand that. We understand that you guys can laugh it up and say, hey, we're going to go ahead. We're going to build a multi-million-dollar facility.
Let me stop you right there. We take what we're doing very seriously. There's no laughing up to it. We're as passionate about this as you're passionate about what you are. But, and I want that to go on the record, we're not in a laughing mood, no more than you are.
There's been some comments made.
Well, I've got a page full of comments from social media. And we take this extremely seriously, and I just want you to understand that. And we really, and don't get me wrong, every one of you that has spoken, we have taken it to heart of what you're saying. We're not just blowing it by, and I want you to think we are. And I want you to feel the same way about us.
I was here.
We do.
And we appreciate you. I think everybody in this room loves the library. Is anybody in this room, please raise your hand if you're against the library tonight. Not a single hand. Maybe one person. Can I finish real quick now?
Let him finish, Barry.
So our intent, you know, let's just get it out here. We'll answer questions tonight as a group. We don't have a problem with that, I don't think. Our intent of taking that $1 million is not to take it. It was all made to begin with, taxpayers' money. It was taken illegitimately. Our intent with asking to return it is to stop the go-ahead for a new facility, which we feel as a group that we're being lied to, misled by the library board, whoever's in charge of the library here, because you're not being truthful to us when we ask a question. It's a simple question. Has there been a letter of intent signed by the board or not? It's a yes or no. It's not a let's get together and decide how we're going to answer this. That's a very simple question. There's very simple questions that we would like to have answered. And we respect you all. If you don't want to answer tonight, we totally understand. We'll be back next time with twice as many people. But we're concerned. Everybody in here loves the library. Everybody in here loves Montgomery County. Everybody here wants to do what's right for the people. We understand there's not 26,000 people in here, so I think the best we can say is the group that's here tonight represents the others. I'd like to think that, you know, but we appreciate your time, each and every one of you, and there's some friendly faces on the board that were here when I was a child. I remember the original facility, and spending time there too. So I grew up with the library, and I just want to say on behalf of our group, we love the library. We appreciate the hard job that you guys do, and we're here to support you. Thank you.
I continue to hear comments that the library board has not followed the law in dealing with the tax issues. I've done things that are illegitimate. I've done things that are wrong. I was at the meeting at Old Silo a week or so ago, and I heard that the library had done things that were unethical and wrong. And I have looked into this in great detail. I have not seen any
Did you go to
evidence.
the PDA?
Now,
Did you go down and see?
are you saying that the PDA
That's right.
thinks the library board has been lawfully
No,
raised?
Go to the
Oh,
source.
I'm just trying to, what
Go
does
to
the
the source.
PDA claim that the library board has
You said
illegally
you went
raised
on the
tax?
internet, you said you've done some studying, did
Right.
you ask the PDA? They're the ones who assess the
Has the
value.
PDA
And they're the
told
ones who
you-
didn't tell them how much.
Has the
how much-
PDA?
Wait a minute, guys, wait a minute. I'm not gonna get into this.
Okay.
One can answer, one can ask. I won't have you talking both at
I'll
the same
finish
time.
up real quick.
Okay?
I've looked into this, I've not found anyone who will say that the library board has done anything illegal in raising the tax. I have heard a lot of opinions on the intent of a law that was passed in 1979. I think I was about 24 or so in 1979, maybe a little older. I don't know what the legislature's intent was in passing the law. I can read the bill and see what it says. I can look at the Attorney General's opinion on the way the tax is calculated that came out in 2010. I can look at the Kentucky Department of Library and Archives that has helped the board with the tax rates over the years. And I don't see any Supreme Court decision, and there may be, maybe there will be in the future. But I have not seen anything credible that says that the library board has done anything illegal. And I keep hearing that comment, and I think that is very harmful and very inaccurate. So I just want to say that there are a lot of opinions on what House Bill 44 says, and people can have opinions. I also want to say that I fully support the library taking advantage of the opportunity it has now to move into a larger building and to continue the excellent level of services that we have now. This town has, this county has grown in population, almost doubled in the last 40 years. Next year, they will have been in this building here for 30 years. Almost doubled in 40 years, they've been in this building for 30 years. This building is not big enough for a growing community like this, and I fully support what the library board has done.
I apologize for my outburst. What I'm saying
State
is,
your name again.
Rick Anderson. What I'm saying, the reason I got involved with this is because I want to know the truth. And the only way to know the truth is go to the source. Go find out for yourselves how the rate is calculated. Nobody's saying that well, actually, they may have done something illegal and not know it. That happens. We're all human. Everybody makes errors. My point is go find out from the source how the numbers work, how the calculation is done, and you will see that the calculations have been done incorrectly. This is there's lawsuits going on in other counties right now just for this particular thing. Some have already been won. You'll find out. Check with Boone County. This has been going on. So the point is, for each side, if you will, I hate to use the term side. We're all on the same side as the library. I know that. But for each side to be pointing fingers at each other it gets emotional. And I apologize for that. I really do. But we need to understand what we've got and what we're going to do with it. And that's the great hope, is that we all get together as community and that we do something that makes sense for our community. But the one thing we don't want to do is take funds for the library that are ill-gotten. That's the bottom line.
One more, I feel like I'm in the middle. Doug Gestry. Wow, most people want me to sit down when I say that. Two things, and I'm trying to keep straight facts. I don't think anybody said library board. I think they said library first off. Secondly, so everyone knows, the library board is given a rate sheet that has, what, 9 different calculations? From a well-informed group, or something to that effect?
Yeah, you can.
Okay, actually, we're given 2.
Okay.
The only place where the 9 came in is we're given 2, which has the compensating rate and the 4% overcompensating. And at any point, if we would like to have alternating rates calculated, and one year we did, after Shannon came, we asked for extra rates, and the board actually set their rate at a lower rate for the personal property after Shannon came.
So to keep
so
all
they
the
did actually take them
right.
into
So
consideration.
keep all the facts straight. This board, as to the best of my knowledge, never calculated the tax rate ever once So anybody that's hearing something different, please listen. They've never calculated a rate, they've been given a rate. They're a volunteer organization that works very hard to do their job, okay? And that's just plain old fact. And what we're trying to do is impress upon them that we are fearful that there may be an error in what was done, okay? And what we're asking for is some participation. And just so you all know, I feel sorry for you from this perspective. I think that our duly elected officials should have an oversight on every special tax district in this county. Because I'll go back to what I said before. They had a tea party in Boston and hated King George because they were taxed without being represented. And if you go to any one of our duly elected officials, that be it the fiscal court or the county, any of the county commissioners, the judge executive, or the mayor, they will all say, oh, I don't have any control on tax districts, and yet they appoint everyone that's on the board. So I think one of the big issues we have here is somebody that gets elected should be willing to have oversight on this. And one way you get that is what that gentleman stated right there. If there's supposed to be a rate increase, you have a petition of 51% of the people, it goes to the fiscal court and it's done, majority rules. So look, folks, there's a lot of emotion here, it doesn't have to be. Nobody on that board single-handedly calculated anything. All they were doing was given rates that the only mistake could be the fact that we trusted that the person who gave us that rate knew more about what they were doing than what might have been. So that's the big thing. And then somebody was asking about the amount of income that came. In 2000, there was about $250,000 allocated to the library, and last year there was $900,000 calculated. So just so you know, it's far greater than 4. And like I said, they didn't do anything wrong. They were just told what they were supposed to do. And the problem is, we have political officials that don't step up and take ownership for what they really should be in charge of. That's right.
Anybody else? Yes, sir.
Mike Williams. I want to apologize to the lady. I don't think she's here, is she?
No.
Is there really
Did you say Mike or Mark?
Mike. Is there really a parking problem? That's what I'm wondering.
Yes.
Just here, does anybody park behind the church?
Our staff does.
Nobody else?
Our staff does, well, sometimes other people have to, during summer reading, we instruct people to,
But that's a courtesy the church extends to us.
we have to beg permission
Right.
to park.
But they do that, right?
Yes, our staff does always during summer reading and big activities.
And some other people too?
Yes.
Right.
Can I say something? I think the guy.
Name, please.
Lana Charles. I think the gentleman over here said that the church is going to be sold and that you might not be able to have the parking.
Let me
lot.
clarify that. We were talking about the little
the
Church of Christ
one
up
over
front.
here?
It owns
Okay.
half the lot.
Okay, I just,
And-
but still, even if they did sell that one, I mean, half the lot we would have over here.
Well, it depends on how nice.
And
people are.
if
Take the $1 million and buy it.
And if for certain
We
reasons
love
they say
that.
no more, then we won't have parking for everybody. I just wanted to bring that to your attention.
Thank you so much.
We won't need parking, we'll need a horse.
And it will.
Last call.
I'd like to say something.
Yes, ma'am.
My
Name, please.
name is Bethany Wells, and this morning on the public radio, you had the opportunity to listen to Melissa Smathers Barnes, and she did answer some of the questions that I've heard tonight. I don't know if you can get online and replay what she said, but if you have some I'll answer some of the questions that I heard. I'm not gonna say what she said, because I think it's best to listen first person, so that way things aren't repeated and misinterpreted. But she did talk about the new building. That was majority of what I listened to on the radio. She talked about the new building and the need for the new building, and that this current building is small, as we've all mentioned, and overcrowded, and it's actually against one of the, I don't know the law or whatever it is, that determines the size of the library for its population, but this building is smaller than our determined size. So that building, that money that's been put aside for that building, but she answered the questions about how the money would be used for that building, is on the radio. The library has put aside that money, to my understanding, for this building, and they have been good stewards with that money and saved it, as many of us in this room have, to have our ownership and things of that nature. So I recommend that you go online and find that recording so that you can have some of your questions answered before the next meeting. And I also would like to say that we talked about the multitude of technology being used and the people that may not have those resources. And the library does offer the service of downloading ebooks, and if that's something that you're interested in, you're able to do that. And if at home you chose to download an ebook and you do not have an Amazon account or something, to my understanding, you can be an Amazon customer and pay a fee per month to download books, or you can pay per book. This service that the library provides is free if you are a library card member. So although we're moving towards technology and downloading ebooks, we provide that service. And I don't know if the library pays a fee for this service, but that may be something we couldn't afford if our budget was cut. And also, I heard on the radio this morning that in the last, I believe it was the last 2 years, adult books have been checked out more in history than they have ever before. So although we may have iPads, iPhones, laptops, tablets, Kindle Fires, all those devices, we're still getting a paperback book or a hardback book, taking it home and reading it, and able to use our library. So thank you for your time.
Thank you.
I have a question, one more. This is just a general question. Does the library provide Wi-Fi services here?
We do.
So if I bring in my laptop, I can get on your Wi-Fi
Yes.
for free?
Yes.
Thank you.
Well,
This room, what do you use it for?
it's sir. Go ahead.
It's where we do a lot of our programming for children's services. We have story hour 4 times a week in here. Tuesdays at 10 and 1, or 10:30 and 1, we do tot time. Wednesdays at 10:30 and 1, we do story hour. And then this is also where we do all our community education type things. So we have a bank of laptops over here that were provided from a grant. We didn't pay for those. They were provided from a federal grant, one-time grant. So we've done everything from how to start your own business, resume classes, all types of things like that, that we do in here. So we use it, it's used several times a week.
Max Wiggins. Yes, Holly.
Holly McCormick. It seems from what the fire tax group is saying, that their main objective is to get the $1 million away from the library. When it looks to me like they would work pretty hard on getting this law changed that the people have so much trouble understanding. Thank you.
You're a member.
I'd like to address that just a moment ago.
Your name, please.
My name is Judy Grenade. Some very intelligent individual one time said that when somebody says it's not the money, it's the principle, it's the money.
It's always the money.
It's always the money. I would suggest that rather than working to take, as he said, rather than working to take the money away and put it in a special account where it's overseen and doled out little by little, if you want to change the law, change the law. If you want to reassess how the tax is determined, then you do that within the confines of whatever statutes that now exist. And unfortunately, Kentucky state statutes, if you've ever bothered to read them, are not exactly in what one would consider proper English. Oftentimes the syntax is somewhat skewed or ignored entirely, so there are oftentimes many interpretations for these particular laws that we have to work with. So change the law, leave money alone, work with the upcoming years. Whenever anyone starts mentioning lawsuits, litigations this early in the game, and I don't care if it's been a year or 2 years, when you're talking about dealing with an infrastructure such as it exists that supports the library and other services, 1 to 2 years is not a long time. We're making changes that will have ramifications far down the road, much farther than any of us can see. So take your time and do it right. And make sure that you actually truly do represent the citizens of Montgomery County, because I'm a citizen of Montgomery County and we're not representing them. Thank you very much for your time.
Last call on comments. Okay. We do want to thank all of you for coming. We do have a board meeting yet to conduct. Another cold supper. But anyway, we do thank you, Shannon.
Thank you
for bringing your group in, and believe me, we do take to heart everything that you say. And we will work on all these questions and give you the right answers from what this board thinks. You're free to leave, you're free to stay. We've got to kind of do a little shifting here on chairs so we can all get together, but we always have open meetings. You're welcome to any meeting that we have. It's always an open meeting.
It's the third Monday.
Typically the third Monday, other
Typically,
than
except for
because
when you
we're
have a
closed.
Monday holiday.
There is that guideline for closed. The other time that happens is court day, almost always. Court day. I do have copies of the budget that came up with Shannon, a conversation earlier, so if anybody wants to see this year's working budget, I have copies. I'll lay over here, if you can pick those up and go out, or you can stay and look at them at the same time. We'll put those over here. So there's this year's budget.
They'll fill it out.
Good to see you. Thanks for coming.